Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Practical and Creative Broadband Conversations with Angela Lovegrove from the NBN. My name is Tia Bauman and I'm filling in for Kevin Dupree, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Angela today for this conversation on how artists and organisations can embed digital strategies and capabilities, a background to broadband technology, and how to make the most out of your broadband connection. I'd like to start by warmly acknowledging the traditional owners of countries throughout Australia, including where you are today. I'm connecting from Gadigal land in the Eora Nation, and I pay my deep respect to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to any First Nations peoples joining us today. If you would like, please share an acknowledgement of the country you are on with us in the chat. Currently on screen, there is a white and blue PowerPoint slide with text with our guest, speaker and Auslan interpreter. I am a woman in my late 30s. I have tan skin with clear glasses and dark hair, and I'm wearing a red t-shirt and I'm sitting in my apartment with white walls. So welcome to Creative Connections, everyone. In a minute, I will introduce you to our guest for today's session, Angela Lovegrove, to talk practical tips and an overview of the NBN. But first, I'd like to quickly go through some of the features and housekeeping notes for today's sessions. Firstly, live captioning is available on Zoom. If you can't already see the captions, you can turn them on by clicking the CC button at the bottom of the Zoom window. You can also select to view the full transcript in a window on the right if you prefer. Thank you to Rachel and David for joining us today as Auslan interpreters. There's also a chat running through today's session, and we invite and encourage you to share thoughts, ideas and resources with each other. Francis will be looking after the chat and will share any relevant links with you. We'll also be running a Q&A with Angela Lovegrove and Ryan from the NBN at the end of the session. Ian in our team will be looking after this, so if you have a question, please add it to the Q&A section, and we'll try and answer as many as we can at the end. If we don't get to your question, you can always send us an email at leadershipprogram@australiacouncil.gov.au and we'll get back to you. If you're having any tech issues throughout the session and something isn't working, you can raise your hand by clicking the hand button at the bottom of the Zoom window, and Francis from our team will be in touch with you to work it out. And finally, we are recording today's session. These recordings can be accessed via the Creative Connections page on the Australia Council website. Please share any of the recordings with anyone you think might be interested. Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest for today. Angela Lovegrove is General Manager, Small and Medium Business at the NBN. Angela has a strong background in enterprise computing with a track record of more than 25 years of experience in the IT industry, helping multinational companies in the deployment of enterprise requirements, planning, customer relationship management, and Salesforce automation software solutions. Angela has been with the NBN as General Manager since August 2017. Today, Angela will lead a discussion with key practitioners around the services available on the NBN network and how you can use these services to collaborate with others, stream your work, and connect with your audiences. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a privilege to join the creative webinar series partnering with the Australian Council for Arts. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land of the Gadigal people, which we are meeting. I pay my respects to elders past, present and future. My name is Angela Lovegrove and I started at NBN 3 years ago when NBN Business was established. The reason for business being established was recognition that we needed to address particular service needs and the demands of business, small and medium business. Previous to joining the NBN, I spent over 20 years in software and then 3 years at Telstra Business looking after 2,500 small and medium business customers across many sectors. Today, my team at NBN manage over 40 business retail service providers. These organisations do not sell NBN to customers, but they sell direct to customers, as NBN doesn't. We use these partners to sell and work with our customer organisations. These organisations vary considerably in capability. Some are pure telecommunications, some are managed service providers, and some of them are informational technology companies. So you're probably asking yourself if you've got the right partner. If you're a sole trader or a small business, a part-time consultant in technology is the ideal solution for you to get the right advice when you need it. Today at NBN, we have over 11 million premises ready to connect to the NBN and 1 million business customers connected today. So today I'm going to go through 4 different areas. One is the digital landscape. Secondly, the resources, tools and support that's available from the NBN, the tips and tricks, and then we move into the Q&A session. So we'll start off with the digital landscape. In the first series, you heard Jennifer Ganks speaking on the digital case study of the Melbourne Digital Concert Hall. Today, I will take you through the digital journey. Deloitte Access Economics do research every year in the small business area, and they look at the level of digital maturity and the percentage of Australian small medium businesses in each category. So let's walk through the 4 categories. The first one is 11% of businesses today are considered basic on the digital journey. That means they just have a website and maybe do nothing else. The second step is 34% are considered intermediate, which means they're using basic online marketing tools such as eBay, and also things like social media such as Facebook. In the third category, 41% are high, using cloud-based applications. So they might be using online marketing, they might be using things like Myob or Xero. So this is an example of stage 3. And the last stage, stage 4, which is advanced, is where they're using data analytics to analyse customer information so they can be even more targeted with their marketing campaigns. So for the audience here, where do you and your business sit on this scale? Our goal in the NBN is to bridge the digital divide, and we want businesses to use the NBN to climb up the digital maturity ladder. We don't expect anyone to move from basic to advanced simply by switching to the NBN network. But business owners should use NBN as the opportunity to improve their digital maturity, not just something they have to do to avoid their phone and internet being disconnected. What this means to you is a better quality service and more opportunity for you to utilise digital technology. For instance, the cloud-based applications are very difficult to use if you're on a residential slow speed service, which we'll spend a bit more time on. So the better the experience that you're having, the more opportunity there is to use some of these technologies. And a good example of this was a few months ago, I wanted to buy some Indigenous art. You'll see that I'm a big Indigenous art fan. And I'm particularly like the Northern Territory art. And there's a second-hand bookshop in Darwin that sells art from across the Northern Territory from an upstairs room. I haven't been able to go to Darwin due to the COVID restrictions, so I decided to look to buy online. Finding the bookshop was extremely challenging due to it not appearing in any of the searches. In the end, I actually had to go and find the map of where the shop was in order to try and locate the web page. When I found it, navigating the website with the artwork was not easy, and the pictures were not very good. In fact, I abandoned my search and looked elsewhere. I searched on Google and found some Aboriginal paintings that were on eBay being sold by a dealer in Alice Springs. Again, the website that was linked to the eBay page was difficult to navigate and pictures were poor. The dealer on eBay had a great rating. So in spite of the poor quality picture, I ordered the artwork. To my pleasant surprise, the dealer called me straight away to verify my address details and they arranged the courier to deliver. It arrived within a week and I was delighted by the service and my purchase. It was beautiful. But there's some 3 key messages here for all of you. During COVID, if you're not online, no one can find you. The second one, utilising the power of eBay or Amazon costs more, but utilising their reach is a consideration, as doing it on your own is extremely challenging. The third one is, rather than build websites, which are really difficult to navigate, use some of the applications out there. There's some great shop fronts, music apps, and the user interfaces are far better. In my spare time when I'm not working at the NBN, I love writing, and I write a creative blog around personal development and leadership. And I use WordPress, which is an easy tool to use to blog in and publish and navigate for the people that come to it. And they do a great job with actually promoting the blogs that I write. And a lot of the followers have come from WordPress themselves, as well as linking that clearly to other social media areas, such as LinkedIn and Twitter. So I publish through those areas and gain followings by linking it back to my website, which is a WordPress site. So that's a good example. The next slide, I've actually put together the 6 steps of what you can do to go on the digital journey as a sole trader or a small business in the arts. And I've put the 6 steps together, the first one being the website. At the weekend, I was with a friend who's a muso, and he plays in gigs all over Sydney. I've never found his website, so I asked him for it. And sure enough, I had a look on it after trying to find it through any search mechanism. And on it was gigs from 2018, some blurry pictures. My instant thought was, is this guy still doing his gigs? So make sure, the key messages here is make sure you keep your web page up to date. So when people visit it, it looks like you're active and you're in market. Ensure you include testimonials. And if you've done YouTube clips and you've got other areas, even blogs outside of your web page, then make sure they're linked so that you're driving traffic and moving yourself, making yourself more visible on the internet. The second one is customer relationship management. And this could be as simple as a spreadsheet. Who's your target audience? Who are the people that give you the gigs? Who are the people that buy your artwork? How do you build up that database? And as you build that up and you then do your blogs or publish music or whatever you're doing, add new products to your store if you've got a shop front, new artwork, make sure that you're sending that out to your audience. In fact, one of the art companies, art galleries in Sydney, send me monthly updates of their 4 new pieces of art they have. I really enjoy looking at that. That's an opportunity for you to promote your work and sell your work. Social media, I've mentioned already, and the importance of using social media to get out, what you do and informate, even if it's about how COVID's impacting you and your organisation. People want to read and understand that. They want to connect with you. So publishing blogs is a great way of connecting with your audience. And then obviously marketing, actually connecting with using social media advertising, pay-per-click, affiliated marketing. And I would only suggest you do that if you're really clear about who your audience is, because you can spend a lot of money and not get to the right people. The final one is online forums. They're really good to participate in order to raise your profile. Next is digital engagement leads to better business outcome. Businesses with advanced levels of digital engagement achieve 28% more revenue in the last 12 months and 60% more revenue per employee. And every step up the digital ladder of business will earn more revenue per employee. So what we're saying here is that the better the investment, the more chance you've got of being successful. We also looked at some key findings for Connecting Australia report. And in that report, it again translates into, investing in technology in the internet will deliver higher value revenues. Almost all Australian businesses now have access to high-speed broadband, on average between 30 megabits per second and 50 megabits per second. And for those non-techos in the audience, that is the difference between waiting a couple of seconds or a couple of minutes for your information to either download or upload. Just 3% of businesses have had access since 1999. When NBN started in 2009, just over 20% of businesses still didn't have access. And for those that did, the average speed was between 5 megabits per second and 12 megabits per second. And believe it or not, we've still got over 50% of NBN customers on those speed tiers, which means that their experience will be very slow. Another key finding was the average business spends less than 1% of revenue on technology, which is about $5,000. So obviously, the higher we spend on technology and internet, that translates into higher revenues for your organisation. So what can NBN do to help you? Well, the first thing is choosing the right plan. And as I mentioned earlier, in business, we recognise that your needs are different. And the first thing we did when we started 3 years ago was developed enhanced service level plans for 4-hour, 8-hour and 12-hour response. Those plans are designed for businesses so that you get the service that you need to run your business and continue running your business. So it's really those offerings, if you don't take them and you buy a residential service, they would come with a 2-day response time, which isn't suitable for most businesses. The other thing we do is the data service quality. So choosing the right plan with the right data service quality is also important. If you're an artist and you paint, or you make music and you want to upload it, buying a service with a decent upload speed is really important. So there's 2 parts to when you buy a broadband service: the download, which is great for video when you're watching films and things like that. But the upload is really important when you're uploading your creative works, whether that's your artwork, whether it's your music. And the difference again is if you've got a 12 megabit per second service on an upload, well, it wouldn't be it'd be a 10 megabit per second upload or a 200 megabit per second, that could be the difference between a couple of hours waiting to upload your images or your music and a couple of minutes. So speed matters, and especially when you're talking about your work and what you're producing. There's some other options on there around the phone or internet, because they're quite different types of services. So when you're asking for that to your provider, make sure you ask for those, whether it's going to be used for voice or whether you want to use it for internet. The other resources that NBN provides you with is on the NBN website is your check address. So you can get your address checked to find out when your service can be delivered. And if you're already a customer, you might want to find out what speed you could go up to, because depending on where you are, you can get up to 1 gigabit per second service, which is phenomenal. It's like lightning when you use it. So you can check that information as well by looking at the check address on the NBN website. You can also find all our business service partners. They're the people that sell the business services. And also the ICT channel partners, which are those advisors that help you. And they include independent advisors as well. And you can select that by region. We also have business readiness tools. So we also provide you with an online checklist. So if you've got phone systems, FPOS, ATMs, alarms, anything like that, then you can check on the website before you go to your provider. So you can be specific about what to ask for. The other area on the website is the Solution Finder. And Solution Finder is all about being on the correct plan. So if you are using video or uploading music for distribution for sale, any of those types of things or artwork, high quality def pictures, then it might be that you're better off on a different type of service. And Solution Finder helps you identify what solution it should look like. So when you go to your service provider, it will actually give you the actual plan that you need to be on and what it's going to offer you. And finally, I want to talk about something that I know is top of mind for many businesses, and that's the protection from scams. And there are 4 key reminders here about things that actually NBN doesn't do. So if anybody comes to you, then you'll know they're not, this is not from NBN. There is no Nicole from NBN. We don't have a Nicole. We don't make unsolicited phone calls, and we don't request access to your computer. So if anybody calls you from NBN and asks you to do either of those things, they're not from NBN. The second key reminder here is not to share your bank or personal details with unsolicited callers or people knocking on the door claiming they're from NBN. We don't phone, and we will not knock on your doors. We also, if an NBN approved technician has to carry out work, they carry an identification card. Enable is the type of card they carry. And so you can ask them to present that before entering your premises. The last one is NBN is the wholesaler. So we never send you a bill. The only person who'll send you a bill is your service provider, whoever you're working with. So there's only one instance where NBN will send a bill, which is where you change technology at your premises, i.e. you move from a fibre to the premise or whatever type of service you've got to maybe a high-speed internet service. If you do that, then there is a charge, but obviously that's the only time that NBN will send you an invoice. And there's a link on the page here from the NBN website about protecting yourself from scams. So it's worth visiting that to find out more, so that your business is not put at risk. And finally, your next steps, the call to action. So if you're not on the NBN, it's worth checking your address on the NBN website to find out when you can connect. And if it's not ready, which is unlikely now because the build is finished on the 23rd of June, there are a number of premises not connected, and you can set up a notification. The second thing is you can use Solution Finder to help find the appropriate plan. And the new version of that actually even indicates which RSPs sell that particular plan. So which retail service providers you can go to who can actually provide the plan that's recommended to you. Also, if you have not got an advisor, technology advisor, we have a web page with that information on, with all the certified advisors for NBN. So they actually go through a certification program to make sure they give you the right advice. So there's a page with those on if you're looking for somebody to work with on an ad hoc basis. And finally, if you need to work through one of the service providers, remember NBN is the wholesaler and your contact is the service provider you're working with. And now for the Q&A.
Great, thank you so much, Angela, for that insightful presentation. Do we have any questions from the crowd? Otherwise, I have a question. Is anyone there? Okay, so what are the specific tips for connecting to the NBN for the first time?
Okay, thanks, Tia. Yeah, the first thing to do is to visit the NBN website and do a check address. So it tells you what date the NBN will be in your area. As I mentioned earlier, the 23rd of June was the completion of the NBN network. There are a handful of premises still not connected, so it's still worth checking that. And those of you who haven't connected and it comes up that it's ready at your premises, you've typically got 12 to 18 months to move off of your existing service onto the NBN. So it'll also tell you what timeline you need to move as well. So that's the first thing, visit the website. The second thing is, if you haven't moved, then it's worth doing the looking at the Solution Finder and also the business readiness to make sure you've considered all the things that you need to when speaking to a service provider to move you. And then finally, that's the preparation work to do, and then it's working out which provider to work with. As I said, we've got many, there's over 40 business service providers now that are represented on the page. And there's the likes of Telstra, Optus, TPG, Vocus, Superloop. There's loads of new small ones. There's lots of small businesses as well in there who are doing a fantastic job in the business market as well. So please visit the website to see all the providers that can assist you.
Great. Another question. What are the benefits of the commercial plan if I am a freelance artist working from home?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. So as a freelance artist, if you're, the benefits of the business plans, there's a number. The first one is the service level agreement. So having a better service level that's different to the residential, which is 2 days. It's there's different plans, and speak to your provider about which one you're on. The standard one is usually 12 hours, but you can get a 4-hour plan. The other benefit is usually the upload and the download speeds are the same. So you can have a plan with a 100 megabits per second download. So that's really good for bringing information down. But then when you're if you're doing a freelance artist and you're actually uploading some of your artwork, it's going to be a lot quicker. And it's so you can actually work more effectively by having a faster upload. It also means when you're doing video calls that you're not going to have the dropouts and the other issues that you get when you're streaming video as well. And Ryan, is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Thanks, Angela. I think probably the only thing that I would add is just, particularly when we've seen not only the impact of COVID, but the bushfires this year, where a lot of people lost their services because of the devastation that was the bushfires. So I think it's really important that people understand to keep your business going, having a business level plan helps to ensure that will happen. So I absolutely encourage everyone to have a business continuity plan in general, but I think it really speaks very nicely to this component, which is about making sure what happens if you don't have your current service. How do you keep your business going? And obviously that's been a key theme of COVID as well. Yeah, and that's actually an interesting point as well, that Ryan, that for businesses, we do have second lines, so they can have 2 lines installed into a premise. That's another option that's available. So that's, and also, some other providers offer 4G backups. Now they're fine temporarily, but they're not good for a long period of time. So it's also worth considering that as well. Again, your service providers can help you with that information.
Great. We have another question from David Woods on that. Does that business plan cost a lot more than residential plans? He's tempted but can't afford a huge amount.
Okay, that's a great question, David. Yeah, so we don't sell to direct to the public. It goes through the service providers, but we do offer a bundle with a standard plan with a service level agreement. And when you go into Solution Finder, when you're going through those questions and you put I don't know, a 12-hour response time or 4 or 5 hour, it will come up with what the plan is that you need. And then you can speak to the service provider about what it costs. But we do a good promotion to those providers to make sure it's cost effective for you. So definitely worth having a conversation and finding out what those additional costs are from your provider. And it does vary by provider.
Great. Another question. My internet is really slow. What can I do about it?
Okay. And yeah, the really slow could be a number of, obviously taking downloads and you get the whirly thing coming up on the screen. We all see that. Now that is usually, it could be a number of things. It could be that you've got a very low speed service. So if you've brought a 12.1 or 25.5 what they call 25/5 service. That's 25 megabits down, 5 megabits up, or 12 down, 1 up. It could be that those services, especially if they're residential services, they're what we can call contended. So there's many people using the same service. For a business grade service, we actually guarantee the speed, so it doesn't decline, it stays at the same level the whole time. So one of the things to consider, if it's slow, is going up the speed tiers so you get something faster. That's one option. The other option is to look at a business grade service, and with those business grade services, they do have guarantee that you can get those speeds. 99, I think it's 99% of the time. Whereas with the residential services, there's no guarantee. They just say at certain times you might get that speed. That's the difference between a residential and a business service. The business service says we have to guarantee that they perform to certain levels.
Can I add to that, please, Angela,
Yeah.
as well? You know, at NBN, we're actually really, we prioritise customer experience. So we hate to hear stories where people say, my NBN is really slow. So Angela's already made a couple of really good things that you can do. And one of them is educating yourself and talking to your service provider. Now, if you are on the right plan for you, and you are still having poor performance, the most important thing you can do is tell somebody about it. And I'm not talking about the newspaper or your next door neighbour. I'm talking about your service provider. They are the channel to NBN for you. So if you are having a recurring issue, ring them up, report a fault. Their obligation is to make sure that their part of the network is working effectively. If it is, and they think it's an NBN issue, they need to raise that with us, and then we have a responsibility to make sure that we fix it for you. So what I would say is don't settle for slow speed if that's not what you've paid for. So check first that you are on the right plan, and if you are and you're still having trouble, please raise a fault with your telephone or internet service provider. That's really important.
Thanks, Ryan.
A question from our audience. Are there service providers who offer packages for micro businesses? We're usually a lot smaller than small business.
Okay, yeah, yes, there are. And again, if you go to the NBN website, to the business RSPs, retail service providers, they will list out all the service providers that sell business packages. They all offer something different depending on your needs. So, you know, it's worth having a look. There, like I said, there's quite a few different organisations out there that specialise in these areas, and many of those organisations have got specialised packages that include lots of different services as part of them, including the enhanced SLA that I mentioned. So it's worth looking at that list and having a chat with some of those organisations around what they've got on offer.
Great. And just one more question, and I think we're going to have to wrap up. So how long does it take to connect?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question as well. So depending on the type of service that you're having installed, so the business grade service, the 1 gig, which is our 1 gig by 1 gig, which is one of the biggest services that we provide, that can take a number of months because of the build. We have to build to that. But the smaller packages in the lower speed services up to 100, typically you can get that connected with your service provider. And depending on, they've all got different lead times in terms of the time to connect, but on average, it's about 10 days.
Great. That's really wonderful. I guess we now have to wrap up. So I'd just like to thank Laura, Francis and Ian, Auslan interpreters at Sweeney Interpreting, captioning at Red Bee Media, our comms team. And I look forward to seeing you all again, and thank you for joining us today. I'd like to also thank Angela and also Ryan for an insightful session. And I encourage everyone to check out Council website for past episodes that are archives. So please take the time to fill out the survey that is placed in this chat. If Francis, you can drop that in there, that would be great. And stay safe and goodbye.
Thanks everyone. Thank you.